All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy CEO Haize holding down the fort while my good friend JayB is out. Shout out to JayB. I know this content's a little bit late. So JayB went on vacation, much deserved vacation that is, and I was supposed to hold down the fort. Then my son got sick with the flu as soon as I got back from traveling to Dallas for a festival, and it just completely threw off the schedule for like all my podcasts and everything that I'm working on. I know, I'm sorry. That's it. Bunch of excuses, but we're here now to catch up. And so we're going to talk a little bit, just a couple of news items. Then we're going to hop into a mini review of The Invisible Man. And so, first thing that I want to talk about is the new pictures that came out from the set of the Batman. This one highlighting the Batmobile. So we got it from three different angles, and this one really looks like like a hot rod, kind of like somebody took a Ford Mustang and kind of decked it out, which it really makes sense when you think about the fact that this Batman is going to be a younger Batman, and when you think about it in a realistic fashion, that if a millionaire decided that he was going to fight crime and he wanted to deck some stuff out, makes sense to turn a muscle car into a weapon that you can use it for. And so that's really what this looks like. It really looks like it just has some modifications, and it doesn't look completely out of the realm of reality, which is what I like about it. Some people have compared it to the Adam West Batman Batmobile, and it's not quite like that in my opinion, but I can get why you make that comparisons. But it doesn't look super high tech. And if they're going to be telling a story about Batman and him starting off, like even when you look at like the set pictures that came out of Batman on the motorcycle in costume, it didn't look like anything too crazy. It looked very tactical, and it looked like something that could exist in this reality. And even the little brief video that we got of the test of the bat suit also looked like something that could exist in this reality. So if that's the route that we're going, it all fits, and I'm really interested just in this movie as a whole. Can't wait to see what Robert Pattinson does. For anyone who like still only knows him from Twilight and didn't see him in things like Good Time, I think he's gonna blow them away in this role. And I think anyone who's really doubting him just because of Twilight, he's gonna really show some people what he can really do. And I could not be happier. I was one of the people who was really excited about him being cast as Batman because I have seen him in other things, and I have seen how he has grown as an actor, and he's a really strong, really good actor, a versatile actor, and him playing Bruce Wayne, I have no doubts that he can do. I don't know why anyone could doubt that he can pull off the Bruce Wayne side of things. The physicality in Batman, that's where he's going to show. He's going to surprise a lot of people, and he has my faith in him right now. Hopefully that doesn't go unnoticed, or it doesn't throw pie in my face, but we'll see. I'm backing Robert Pattinson as the Batman right now, and I hope other people get behind him, and if they don't, he's going to prove them wrong. Next bit of news that we want to talk about, which is something that's dear to my heart, is this this all this stuff to come out with Star Wars. And this the novelization, some of the things got leaked from it. So first we got confirmation that Palpatine was indeed a clone that his spirit then inhabited. So it was a clone body, and that wasn't too crazy to me. Palpatine has been cloned before, in Legends now is what they call them. So that wasn't a shock to me. I actually wish that would have been in the movie and explicitly stated in the movie, because it would have, some of us old school Star Wars fans who did read the novels after the original trilogy and the prequels and was engulfed in all the books that came out then. I wish they would have said that in the movie. And it wasn't as bad. It came out that like as he's falling down from the Death Star, he transferred his body over into an imperfect clone. But the thing where it starts getting a little weird and pissing me off a little bit is that it came out that his son, Rey's father, was actually a clone of Palpatine as well. It was a failed clone, one that wasn't powerful. That's part of the reason why he was in hiding. And so that is where it starts getting a little like, okay, it's getting a little too convoluted. Like you're messing shit up. I don't know why they decided to go that route with it. It really seems like they're trying to do some course correction because they know after the Rise of Skywalker, like it left people really disappointed in where that trilogy went. And I think honestly they'd be better off just letting it breathe for a while. because they didn't have a plan, and that's the thing that sucks the most about this trilogy is that they didn't have an outline going forward. At least it doesn't seem like it. It seemed like they planned on letting every director do their own thing. And where I think that went wrong at is that you should have an overarching story. You should know the story that you want your trilogy to tell, and then you let the directors or the writers that come on between each of those films kind of have a little area to play within and make it their own, but stick to the adhere to the story that they wanted. And they didn't have that. I know a lot of people are going to blame Rian Johnson and The Last Jedi for that because JJ was on the bookends of it. But ultimately, it wasn't just about what Rian Johnson did or did not do. It was the fact that Kathleen Kennedy, who has been said by like people like Steven Spielberg that she's one of the greatest producers of all time, just did not have a plan. And when you hear her say things like, well, they don't have source material to go off of, and there's decades of books and novels that were written that they could have adapted or, you know, changed a little bit to go off of if they felt like they didn't have something firm, it's kind of a slap in the face to Star Wars fans. And, you know, yeah, it's frustrating. It's disappointing because it could have been a lot better, but they do have Star Wars isn't going to go away forever. We know this. There've already been new announcements. We know a new movie is more than likely coming. And overall, if that's what they're going to do, either just make singular great movies and then don't worry about connecting them, or sit down and really plan out what story you want your trilogy to tell, or however, if it's only 2 movies, whatever you want to tell, and then fill that out. I hope that they have learned from that. You know, Kevin Feige has been rumored to do a Star Wars movie. If that's true, then I all faith to Kevin Feige. And I hate to really compare everything to Marvel, but the fact of the matter is that what Marvel has proven is that if you have a blueprint, or if you have an outline, if you know what you want to tell, people will forgive it if you mess up. And, you know, we have revisionist history with Marvel in a way. Marvel hasn't been perfect. They have had things and threads that they've mentioned or characters that just have completely gone away and gone by the wayside. But because the story has still overall been cohesive, and we haven't felt a complete disappointment of something being left out, that we have forgiven it to a while, to the point where a lot of people just remember it as a perfect overarching story across those 20 movies. And it really hasn't been. The Leader stands out for one. Everything that happened with like the Netflix, which is out of Feige's control. But they've had things and threads that they didn't pick up on as well, but just it didn't affect it the way the kind of stuff did with Star Wars. So hopefully they've learned from that. Hopefully they can fix that as well. One last thing in the news before we get into the mini review for Invisible Man is the Candyman trailer. And this trailer was nothing short of amazing. And I think that it sets a complete tone, and it really lets you know kind of what to expect. It puts you back in that world. We didn't get to see Candyman in full, but Jordan Peele continues to use great music. But one thing that I want to point out about this, more so than just the trailer, is great. Definitely watch the trailer. It has me excited for the movie. I love that it seems like they're pulling in gentrification into the story of Cabrini Green, which is an area that has been heavily gentrified. And it seems like Yaya's character wants to bring the Candyman back to kind of combat that, and he's the baby in the original one. So yeah, the trailer's great, and I'm really excited for the story. But the thing that I want to talk about with Jordan Peele here, Jordan Peele had a hand in writing this. He's also producing it, but he's not directing it. And he actually set this up so someone else can come in and direct it. And this is something that we need in black film, is people to give other people opportunities and to use the platforms that they've built to give other people chances that may have not got one. And so when you hear that a different director's coming on, but he's still been heavily involved, it's kind of like ushering it in a way. And that's something that I really do appreciate being done with that. Now let's get into this Invisible Man mini review. If you want to check out the full review and my full thoughts, go and check out the Film Frequency, the podcast version. But in this quick review, what I want to just say, this was a almost masterclass in putting you in the mind of someone who's been dealing with trauma. And that's what made this movie so powerful to me. When you look at Elizabeth Moss's character, and just everything that she went through, right, in this movie, and how it breaking down her psyche, And that's what the Invisible Man did in this. Like, yeah, you'll hear the comparisons to the Me Too movement and being gaslighted, and those things are all a part of that. I don't want to take away; they are definitely a part of this movie, and it kind of forces you to have to realize this is what women are talking about when they talk about being gaslit, um, and manipulated, and that's the thing that I think makes this movie stand out. And I know it's technically labeled a horror movie. It's not really. It's more of a psychological thriller than anything else, because you see how this woman is breaking down mentally, and she's so sure of herself that Adrian is there, and people are like, this is impossible. He's dead. And even like how Adrian's brother plays into it as well. It's it's just powerful to watch. And then outside of that, something that stood out to me about this movie is that the way that Lee Wynell framed things, because the way, like, there's certain shots that before we're aware that the Invisible Man is either there or not, that he frames it as if someone else is in the room, and it immediately kind of lets you know that something is off here, because it's done completely different than most movies would have framed that. They would have framed it. And as I'm getting into like making short films and into film more, I look at things like that, and the way that certain things, shots pan over and stay on things, it makes you think, well, is somebody there, is somebody not? And that also contributes to putting you in her mind, because you're always wondering if someone's there. Elizabeth Moss, I don't know how they did this. I don't know if they had someone she was acting against and then they kind of digitally took them out of those scenes to make it seem like nobody was there. But if she was really and truly acting against nobody in a lot of these scenes, hats off to her. She is such an amazing actress. And, you know, if you've seen her in Mad Men and other things, you know that she has the acting chops. And this movie was just one that it was great to me. I will put this and say this is definitely one of my favorite films so far this year. That goes without saying, but this, I got to really think about everything that I've seen this year so far in 2020, because the end of 2019 is kind of blended in here. But I would say that this is got to be, if not the best movie that I've seen so far in 2020. It's definitely in the top 2 or 3. It was powerful. And like, the thing that I love about Blumhouse, like me and JayB reviewed Fantasy Island, and we said how bland it was and how it just used a pre-existing property's name, and it was it wasn't anything remarkable. The Invisible Man is almost the exact opposite of that. You see that Lee Wynell, in writing and directing this, he had a different vision for what he wanted to do. Because like, when you look at the way that he turns invisible, the fact that it's a suit rather than him taking a drug or something, it's not really supernatural. It's more science fiction-y, and it just it's such a unique take on a character like this, like the invisible character, the invisible creep, and the fact that, you know, he was so focused in on using this power of being invisible just to break down the woman that left him, because like, how dare she leave him? Now he has to break her down. And so very early on in the film, we get his brother, Adrian's brother, you know, sympathizing, saying, you know, I know my brother I was under his foot for a long time. And then as he's reading the will, he says, you know, you have to be of sound mind. You couldn't have committed a crime. And that was really telling us what was going to be done to her over the course of this movie. And the standout scene to me in this movie is the scene in the restaurant. And full spoilers, by the way, I'm getting ready to get into, like, I know I've kind of danced around them, but the scene in which she's in the restaurant with her sister and she's about ready to tell her that she knows for a fact that Adrian is indeed turning invisible because she found the suit, and she's about to break down what happens. And we see the knife come up. The knife slits her sister's throat and immediately goes back in Elizabeth Moss's hand. And she just sits there as people in the restaurant are recognizing and seeing what's going on and freaking out. She's just sitting there. She doesn't say a word. And I think because she knew that nobody would believe her. She knows how it will look. And a lot of other movies would have tried to have her do the thing of, no, it wasn't me, it's XYZ, and explain it. They did have her do that when she got into the, believe it was an insane asylum. But in that scene, I think that acting and what she did with her face and just her reaction to it was perfect and spot on. This movie is great. And you know, the scene which the young lady smacked and Elizabeth Moss the only character in it, even though they weren't close, and it's like, well, it has to be you. And then to later on see that girl in the room and she wakes up and she's like, something is off, and she sprays him with the mace. It just the psychological aspect of this, of just how many times have we felt somebody's presence around or felt somebody's eyes on us, and to probably have that feeling and know and not be able to see anyone in the room. It just, they just did Leigh Whannell did such a great job with this. And you know, what he did for the Saw franchise, and he was in the Conjuring franchise, or the Insidious. I get those two franchises mixed up. But he's just a great writer and a really solid director. This is probably the best directing job I've personally seen from him. But this is what I love about Blumhouse. $7 million budget, did $62 million on the opening week. And, you know, I get it. You make cheap horror movies, you get big returns on horror movies, but Blumhouse, and the thing that made Blumhouse special to me is having these smaller budgets, but these passionate movies where it seemed like the directors all had something to say in their movies, or something that they wanted to bring to the genre. And that's what I really enjoyed about The Invisible Man. So check it out. Let me know. It gets a solid 8.5 out of 10 from me. Let me know how you guys felt about it. But otherwise, that's it for this short video and episode. Make sure you guys go and check out the full Film Frequency podcast to get these thoughts as well as others. We got some other exciting reviews coming for you. And also go and check out our Facebook page. That's the Film Frequency Podcast on Facebook. And that discussion group is just crazy about movies and TVs and everything that we're passionate about. I'm CEO Haize. You can follow me at CEO Haize, and I'm out this week. Peace.